Hi, everybody, and welcome to the brand new episode of the Valleycast.
Ooh,
My
ooh,
name is
ooh.
Elliott Morgan, and I'm here, everybody, with woo 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 Joe Beretta.
Thank
And
you. Thank you.
this is our, I believe, first podcast recorded in the new year. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Well, Happy New Year, Joe. But by the time this goes up, according to Larry David, you get about 7 days to say Happy New Year. And then after that, there's no reason to. So, forget I said anything.
Don't feel like watching movies, so I'll watch people guess them instead. I don't know how it goes, I think it starts with your show.
Joe, I have a story for you.
I love stories. Please tell me.
A lot going on here. All right, where do I begin? So, my wife and I went to the East Coast for the holidays. Some backstory. A couple months ago, my wife got a brand new car, a lease, Subaru SUV. I we ordered the Uber to go to the airport. Okay,
Mm.
and it's about 8 minutes till the Uber gets there. You got that time, that countdown going. I take the luggage down. I go to get the mail because we're not good at getting the mail, so we know it's going to stack up. I grab it, and on the way up, I'm walking in the house, and I look over to my wife's new car, and I noticed that the back driver's side windows on the back seat in the very back, the trunk area,
Uh-huh.
shattered. Not
Oh.
uh like holes, but like the whole thing is about like if I could press it. You know how Windows do that thing where they break in such a way?
Yeah, it's like it would be kind of satisfying to press it and watch them crumble.
And you wait. I tell you, I told Grace this. I was like, this is actually pretty fun. Um, and so I was like, babe, can you come look at this? And we got to get on a plane, and we are completely confused as to what happened.
Yeah,
And
that's horrible timing.
yeah, and we walk and we see our footage on the Ring camera, and we're just looking at it like two idiots, trying to be like, what the heck happened? And Grace was like, maybe a raccoon climbed up into the tree and fell onto the car. And I was like, was it a 700-pound raccoon? And then I, like an idiot, was like, well, maybe it's like the torque and it's like not an even driveway and that caused it to crack. We looked at the Ring camera footage. We can see the car. Everything's fine. There's no animals, there's no people. But you see after a certain point, there's like a slight difference in the windows where something happened. So we're like, we got to get out of here. And so I tape a towel over it. I should have taped a plastic bag, but thankfully it didn't rain. And so we go on this trip for like 10 days. And all throughout it, we're talking to friends and family and being like, this weird thing happened on the way out where we had still have no idea what happened. And, Grace was like, maybe it was a paintball gun. I was like, well, there'd be paint. And maybe it was, an earthquake, a very tiny, specific earthquake. And
It's both passenger side windows.
just so it is the driver's side. So it's like, how a car faces the driveway,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it was the side closest to the street. And so it was not at that point, not the driver's window, but the driver's back
Backside.
seat
Yeah.
and that small window
Okay.
that
Those
the
two.
no man's
Gotcha.
land. Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Grocery window. And so finally we're telling people, I don't know, and we get back and we kind of put it out of our minds. And then the next morning we're like, okay, we're just going to chill this weekend. We're going to reacclimate. We spent a lot of time with family. It was a whirlwind of a trip. So Grace is like, I'm going to go for a walk. And she goes, can you come out here? And I'm like, that's never a good thing when she says that. And so I walk out there, and the front now, all three windows are like holes, shattering, glass everywhere, glass filling the back seat. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And we start looking with a real close eye, and I go, look, Grace goes, look at this little thing right here. And I go, oh, okay, hang on. And I started looking around the ground, and you know what I find?
No.
Right. You wouldn't believe it, Joe. A BB.
Oh.
And then I find another BB.
Oh, that's not fun.
And I was like, oh, this car is getting shot at by a BB gun. And so then what happens is the spirit overtakes me, and I had my psyche was temporarily overridden, and I found myself
Overrode.
overrode. Yeah, overrode. And I found myself walking toward the neighbor's house across the street.
Because that's the only place you would go, directly across.
Yeah.
But you
And I
guys are kind
know,
of elevated.
right. So we're, for context, folks, it's like a hilly area, and our place is like above the what do you call them? Riffraff. Our kingdom is what we like to call them, and we lord over them, and
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
throw
The
cake or whatever down to
serfs,
them. The serfs, yeah, and they support us, and we give them cake.
tracts of
And,
land.
yes, yeah, they till the land, and so I know one house is Fernando, and he's great, and I don't see him as a particular BB gun enthusiast, and so I go to this other house that I've never met the people in before, and I'm like, I guess I'm gonna ring on this stranger's doorbell, and I just ring on it, and then I hear shuffling from the inside, and I'm like, oh no, if they don't answer the door, I'm gonna because Grace was like, do we file a police report? Like, what do we do here? Like, do we take it into some like how like what is even
Mhm.
because I was like, we can't drive the car, and because it's like
Your new
you
car.
brand new, you breathe near it, and like it's like, and so the guy doesn't answer the door at first, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna ring it again, and finally he like opens the door. The person who answers, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, was someone who this is gonna take a turn. Chill, very similar in personality to myself, I would
Mm-hmm.
say. A
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
little older, normal guy.
Future time
And he goes,
traveling Elliott found him.
yep, I found him. I was like, this is just getting more and more complicated. And I go, all of a sudden I'm nervous. And I'm like, hey, uh, my name's Elliott. I live across the street. And I'm holding the BBs.
Uh-huh.
And I go, do your kids happen to own a BB gun? And he steps out and he shuts the door and he goes, it just got taken away from him. What happened? And I was like, well, the side of my wife's car is like destroyed and the windows have been shot out and there's tiny bullet holes all over the car. And he goes, that little dipshit.
Oh,
He goes, I am so sorry. He's like, whatever it is. He was like, we will take care of it. We told him not to point that direction. And he was like, can I see it? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And so now we're walking across the street and I'm texting Grace and I go, I found the culprit. I'm coming up with the dad. And Grace is down by the car and she's just starts staring at it, like trying to still figure it out.
so are there
So
holes in like the side of
yeah,
the car
the
too?
body. Yeah. Yeah.
Like the BBs went through the freaking
Not
body?
through like bullet hole, but I
Dent.
don't know what other word, BB hole, but BB dent,
Yeah.
like
But
pepper.
enough to see.
Yeah. And like cracked the which I found later, the tail light
Okay.
casing. Uh and so he comes up and I'm like, hi, I'm Elliot, and it's my wife Grace. And this is where he gets kind of funny. Because the whole
Please,
time I walk,
please tell me he said big fan.
yeah, basically. And so as I'm walking, I'm like, this guy seems familiar. And then Grace introduces herself and he's kind of like, yep, hi. And kind of like a yeah, I know. And then he was like, do you mind? He's like, you guys want to come out here or be out here, but do you mind if I grab my son and show him this? He needs to see what happened. And I was like, sure. I was like, you want to show him the BBs? And he was like, yeah, actually I do. And he like takes the BBs. And so Grace and I go back inside and we're kind of laughing about it. And we're like, thank God we figured out what this was. And then it's not because Grace has had and maybe occasionally does still have some, humble brag stalkers. And so we were thinking that all these crazy thoughts about
Yeah.
raccoons and earthquakes and snipers and whatever. And so we're laughing about it. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to go out there, I guess. And I'm going to start cleaning this up. And so I start doing that very satisfying thing of kind of like just,
Yeah.
yep. And it made that very satisfying like
Yep.
sound
Yep.
and just rained glass all inside the car. And even though I did my best. Anyway, I get the shot back out and it looks like a crime scene and the biggest mess I've ever seen in my life. And so I got the shot back going. The whole family now is walking up our driveway. And I'm like, okay. And I turn it off. I go, here we go. And it's the dude and his wife and their two children. And the youngest of their child is arguably one of the cutest children I've ever seen, as is the older child, the culprit. And
What's the culprit's age? Would you say guess?
I mean, like 6.
Oh, super young.
Yeah, maybe 7.
Almost like forgivably young. Oh no.
Oh yeah, like very very forgivable. Yeah, I mean, and so this kid walks up to me. He's the tiniest kid, very adorable. And he's got his eyes are like huge and puffy, and he's got tears streaming down his face. And he's walking up with this walk of just utter shame and guilt. And I put my hand out and I go, "Hi, what's your name?" And he goes, I'm Mikey. We'll call him Mikey." And he goes, I'm so sorry." And he was like, he goes, he takes his arms out and he goes, he looks at the car like all at once. He goes, "This was such a stupid mistake." And it's breaking my heart to the point that I start choking up and I'm like, "Buddy," I'm like looking at the mom and I'm like, "This kid's breaking my heart." And I was like, "It's okay, buddy. Thank you for apologizing. It's thank you for doing that. And this is gonna be okay. And we're gonna figure it out." And he's, "I never should have done it, and I'm so sorry." And then the dad is like, "See, son, this is like a good man. He's keeping his cool." Because earlier he was like, "Thank you for not beating the shit out of me." And I was like, "Thank you for answering your door." And so we're having a great time. And the daughter, on the other hand, is like this little 2-year-old toddler, like a little Cabbage Patch kid. And she comes tumbling up to me, gives me like a high five while her brother is just like going through an existential crisis. And so we talk, and I was like, "Well, my wife's on the phone right now with the insurance and the dealer, and we're going to figure everything out." And he was like, "Here's my number." He was like, "Don't hesitate to reach out." He's like, "If you guys need a rental car, if you need whatever." And I was like, I will. I was like, I will reach out." I was like, "Text, cool." And he's like, "Whatever you want to do." He was like, you guys are being incredibly nice about this. And I was like, "Yeah, we are." And
Yeah, you guys could have been way worse.
they could not have chosen a better couple to shoot out the windows of the car. And so then they leave, and I go back inside, and they're all very kind. And I say, "Nice meeting you guys." And I walk in, and Grace is like, "All right, so the insurance doesn't cover," I was like, "drive-by shootings." And she was like, "No." And so she gets all
That's
these
insane,
prices.
by the way.
I know, right?
Your insurance
And
doesn't cover. Is it full covered? You have full
oh
coverage.
yeah, yeah. If it's not under warranty, they don't cover it
That's fucking
or
insane.
whatever.
Why do we
Yeah.
pay all these fucking people? Good Lord.
Oh, well, I almost told the neighbor, I was like, "We did find the name of the CEO for the insurance company if you want your son to pay him a visit." But I didn't go that far.
That's timely
That's
joke.
timely, yeah, and a risky one. But I did text him and I was like, "Hey man, thank you. This is always kind of awkward, but don't worry about anything right now. We're just gonna give you kind of," and I gave him a whole update on everything. And I was like, "Also, my wife's name is this. This is her car. This is her number in case I'm unavailable, or if you get a text from this number, it's her." And that's when we find out that yeah, was very familiar. Both he and his wife were very very familiar with Grace, and very complimentary. And also, we're like, we have a lot of mutual friends, one of whom is Ben, your realtor. And he goes, "We would have loved to have told you this under different circumstances had my son not shot out all the windows of your wife's car." And I was like, "Man, you're being very understanding." And I was like, "Thank you." And I was like, maybe when this is all over, we can go grab dinner or something and laugh about this, because it was
Yeah.
all very, very funny." And then I said, "It's cool that Ben, our realtor. We love living in this community despite all the gun violence." And that was
That's
so it
good.
was a happy ending. And now, yeah, the car is like totally unusable. We have a rental now, and I could show you just like what the back seat looked like. This is
Down a little more. Oh, hello. Oh, hello. Yeah,
and
you should. Did you open the door before you pushed it in?
so we left it because we left for 10 days. I opened a different door
Ah,
and that happened. Kind
yeah,
of real slow,
that's.
and it's they're made to fall apart.
So wait a minute. So this is all gonna have to be out of pocket.
Not for us, but yeah.
That's fucking insane. And what's also crazy about it is this kid, this was not a one-time assault. This he came back to the scene of the crime and did it again.
Right. Well, and so apparently he didn't, and apparently I think that window was already because he was like, "Here's what happened. He was trying to shoot out these Christmas lights in our front that we told him not to."
Oh, he
These
was
little
still trying to do that. something
Yes.
bad.
Yes. Not, and then that he got taken away. And then after it got taken away, we were like, okay, yeah, no, this is pretty bad. And yeah, and so that moment, dude, though, when that kid came up and apologized was like that one of those moments where you're like, I'm the adult now. Like I'm the neighbor that the kid has to go to apologize to. And
Yeah.
that's like a responsibility. I was like, dude, don't worry about it. I was like, this is just a thing. I was like, it's not, no one was hurt, but we narrowed down the time that the shooting took place,
Uh-huh.
and it was between like 4 and 6 p.m. on the 21st, based on the ring light. And Grace had gone to Target. She could have just stepped out at the exact time that a BB like landed on her face or something,
Yeah.
which wouldn't have been necessarily good. And there were enough bullet holes that like there's a good chance something far worse could have happened. I didn't bring any of that up, but they kind of said they put it together too, and said that part. But anyway, yeah, crazy stuff.
There's a
So
few morals to the stories here, and actually follow-up questions or things to consider. One, I don't care who you are. Maybe you don't buy a 6-year-old a projectile shooting
right.
anything.
So there's a couple contexts that I left out, neither of which are in disagreement with that. But there is another side, another layer to this story that makes it even funnier that I will tell you off uh,
Ah,
offline.
eat
But
that,
we'll
audience.
take that, yeah. Blue balls, but ethics or whatever. But I will tell you because it is very funny. But the other
Uh,
thing is, they were basically on the way up. He was like, "This, my son's been working. I'll leave out the details. My son's been working very, very hard in school, and all he wanted was a BB gun, and he did his work, and we were hesitant, and didn't want to, and all that stuff. And I was like, well, because BBs didn't cross our mind, because I was like, it's not 1955. Like I didn't think
mhm.
that was even a thing
It's
anymore.
been a long time since I've heard the term BB gun.
Right.
And I
And
grew up in Montana and we
totally.
had them.
Yeah, I didn't even know they still made them. And I was like, this is I was like, this is like a Christmas story. Like it's a Christmas story in real life happening.
Yeah, and so again, he comes back to the scene of the crime to do it again because it is satisfying. It is satisfying. I understand where this kid is coming from. I have a theory that when you're that young, it starts as early as like one, when you realize that, oh my God, all these atoms that I am, I want to know that they truly are something and they exist in this big thing called existence. I am. And the only way you can do that is to have an effect on things.
Yep.
And when you're that young, the easiest effect is destruction.
Yep.
And it goes all the way back to like your Lego towers when you're 2 or 3 and you just want to see them fall and you hit
Yep.
them. I think destruction is this weird natural human instinct to just know that you can change this confusing thing that we're part of. And it's an
Hmm.
instantaneous change, and because of that, it satisfies that need.
It
Uh,
teaches your limits. Like, oh, I can't break that. That's
it
bad.
tests your limits. It doesn't teach you limits. It tests them.
Well, yeah, both
'Cause you're,
maybe, yeah.
yeah, you're too young. So this 6-year-old is getting this satisfying like feeling of having an effect on the universe. And the fact that you guys were so nice will be an interesting, depending on how his timeline goes, it could either have the best effect or it could have a negative effect. And there's
I
also
think it's
some
had a good, yeah, because one of the things he said when they came up on the driveway, which I thought was so sweet, was the dad was like, just so you know, he offered to give all of the money that he has to pay for this, and
sweetheart.
which is so cute because we're like, you're gonna need a little more, and you're gonna need to take out a loan, bud, and this is gonna probably
Can
affect your
you
credit score.
spell indentured servitude?
Yeah, and then after that, yeah, he was like, he also has offered, in the text, he was like, please consider this, but he would love to like take out y'all's trash or like, anything that it's someone who can't drive, grab your mail if you're out of town. And he was
You
like,
should consider that.
yeah, he was like, we would supervise him at all times. And I was like, tell him we said thank you. And of course, we'll take him up on that. Maybe he can grab our mail at some point, as long as it doesn't interfere with school. Really hitting all the
Hmm.
neighborly things. But yeah, I mean, the kid was being so sweet about it. And it is one of those things where it's like, oh, yeah, he's a kid that just really, really screwed up. and felt bad about it. But now it also, like, the rest of the day, I was like, God dang, this is a mess. We went to get our rental car, and the guy at Enterprise was like, is your car in the shop? And we were like, not yet, but it will be. Our neighbor bought their son a BB gun and shot out the windows of my wife's car. And he was like, well, that's a story I'm going to tell my family when I get home tonight. So
Uh,
anyway,
Follow-up question for you then. 6-year-old coming up crying, super adorable, easy to just like go into, oh my God, like caretaker mode, which is kind of what you guys did.
yeah.
You're empathizing in the moment.
Showers.
What would have been your reaction if it was a 15-year-old?
It would have been far more stoic, but not mean. I would have been like, hey, man, thank you for
15-year-old,
the
you don't think
apology.
you would have been a little bit more angry?
Oh, yeah. I would have still kept my cool, but I would not have been as saccharine. And
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, there's so few things I think that there's so many. The kid was the cutest kid.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
and if it had been like a hairy teenager, sweaty and gross, all like in on himself and
But
feeling bad,
also
I'd been like, no.
knows what he's doing.
Yeah. This kid didn't know what he was doing, and that
That's
was honestly, we were so relieved that it wasn't some creeper or some like,
malicious. Yeah.
yeah,
Also, again, to give a little bit more context, and I want to know where you think his sniping platform was, but you guys are elevated, but you're also not close to this
no.
other person's house. Like, they're not in any way, shape, or form on the same level, so it's not a straight shot. Where's this kid shooting from?
I think he was shooting up,
Like
like,
from the road?
and I think the no, it would have been probably their driveway
Just out.
out and probably aiming toward whatever he was aiming at, but not realizing that. I think they were probably. I mean, I don't know the trajectory of a BB gun, but I imagine it arcs pretty significantly, right? Like you shoot it up, and it's probably went up, and then kept landing on the. But I don't know.
But you don't think he was shooting for car?
No, I don't think he was shooting at the car at all.
Whoa, and he hit the car that many times?
Yeah, I think he was shooting in something that was between the car and us, and he was probably on the ground shooting. He showed me what because we were going through, and the dad was like, no, I can tell you he was shooting at this, and we knew he was. And they also were like, we should have been watching him, and we shouldn't have done this. And I was
Yeah.
like,
My
all
follow-up to don't buy a 6-year-old a projectile firing toy is also don't do it in a crowded neighborhood. Like, what the fuck are you thinking?
It was definitely a mistake.
Yeah.
Yes, to do that, and they should not have. And it's very funny, and it's also like they were, because Grace and I were like, imagine. Obviously, they were hesitant because their kid had struggled, and this is the only thing that the kid wanted, and they probably had the debates around it and arguments about it, and hesitantly did it. And we were laughing about, like, imagine we finally reach a compromise. We go, all right, fine, we'll get him a BB gun or whatever. And our, like, the word argue, not the worst, but one of the worst things that could happen, at least, financially, and in terms of, and then to find out that who the person is,
Uh-huh.
and you
Yeah.
have to meet them and go, yeah.
And then you got to talk to Ben and explain it to Ben.
Right.
He's this middleman that, like, ugh.
I know.
Dude, wow. Well,
I'll tell you the other bonus layer after the deleted scene afterward, because it's very funny. But anyway, how was your Christmas, Jeff?
unbelievable. Very non-eventful, especially compared to that story. Super laid back, super no drama. It was like your
Nice.
prototypical, we opened presents and then we watched Christmas movies all day. The
Nice.
only drama was just disagreeing and discussing which ones we were going to watch. And for whatever reason, the four of us seemed to all have equal opinion and we never agree. So that was as high as the drama got.
What'd you end up watching?
Oh, I mean, all of them. I think we watched Claus. We watched the Santa Claus, or what the hell is it called? The Chronicles, Christmas Chronicles.
We watched the Chronicles for the first time.
It's
based on your recommendation.
I consider it a modern Christmas classic.
Yeah, we really liked it.
Yeah, it's fun. Kurt Russell's like he's not even Santa. He's just Kurt Russell,
Just Kurt Russell. Yeah,
and it works so well.
we were gonna watch the second one. We didn't quite get around to it. I watched.
No.
Oh, really? Oh, good to know.
Good.
Oh, good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
Great.
Scrooged, Mickey's Christmas Carol. You know, the classics.
My new favorite right now, because I haven't worn it to shreds. We turned on Home Alone at one point, and I was like, I can't do it. I know this movie by heart, and
Yep.
I do love it. But it's same with like The Grinch. Jim Carrey's The Grinch. I love that one, but it's like I know it so well. We watched most of National Lampoons, and then we watched. Well, I mostly watched Muppet Family Christmas. Do you know that on YouTube?
No, I don't know
Dude,
that.
you gotta watch that.
Okay.
Like it's worth watching, not during Christmas. It's like 40 minutes. It's on YouTube, and it is unbelievably good.
Is it a what is when was it made?
It's Muppet Family Christmas. It's some kind of special they did, I think in like 87, like the when I was born.
Oh,
And
great.
it's literally just like all the Muppets gathering at I think Fozzie's mother's house or something. And it's so funny and
That
so good.
sounds so sweet.
There's like a turkey in it that like and like the Swedish chef, and the turkey's like a real cool guy who's just like wanting to hang out, and everyone's like Rizzo the Rat's like, you gotta get out of here, he's gonna kill you, make you for dinner, and like Swedish chef is like following him around everywhere. It's just mayhem and very good.
I should see. There's probably a billion lists out there, but maybe we can do this for a future podcast. Just like our own personal top 10 Muppets.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, the Muppets themselves.
yeah, because like Swedish Chef is one of the greatest creations of all time, but he's such a side character. Like,
Yeah.
does he make the top 10?
Right. I don't know, that's a good question,
You know, people have
because I don't
fun
think the
with
top
it.
10 are the main cast,
And I think
all
that's
of them.
okay. Right. And I'm saying this is just personal preference. This does
Yeah.
not have to be like, of course, Kermit's had the most influence
Yeah, he's the
through
Mickey.
yeah, through history, but like, I just want to know. Oh, by the way, you should watch. I don't know if, can remember if we talked about it or not, but speaking of Muppets, did you watch Saturday Night, the movie?
No.
Oh my God, so good. You
Oh,
got
really? Good to know. Yeah.
it's my top three favorite movie of the year.
I mean, you know how it's hard to get Grace to watch.
Yeah,
She's
especially
not a big SNL fan, so that's one of the ones I'd have to watch by myself.
but it's a fascinating behind the scenes jaunt
Cool.
that's
I am very
really,
curious
really,
about it.
really, really
Yeah.
good.
Does it seem true to the history, or is it
Yeah,
more
I think
cool?
so. And then I think, they cherry pick a couple like stories that maybe not didn't happen on that first night, but did happen in the
Yeah.
time period around there. But it's this amazing, like super kinetic from start to finish, almost feels like one shot because there are a lot of long one shots, but it's just about from basically 2 hours before they go live. Like
Oh,
what
wow.
happens in those 2 hours, how they
That's
almost
the
didn't,
whole movie?
yeah,
Oh,
how they
cool. That's
almost
more interesting.
yeah. How they almost didn't go live, how they were like battling the network up to the last second, how they weren't ready for anything. The cast is insanely good. Like a bunch of, I'll say no names, I guess, but up and comers, but everybody that plays the not ready for primetime players are so spot on. It's insane.
Wow.
It's really, really good.
Cool.
Give it a go.
Sold. I'll check it out. Speaking of New York,
Nice. I like the segue. That's perfect.
I saw on New Year's Day, I went Back to the Future, and I saw Back to the Future, the musical on Broadway.
I am fascinated to know how this went.
Okay. I'm going to be very honest with you, Joe. It may be the most fun I've ever had seeing a play.
Yes.
It was unbelievably good. And like the last week, I think, of it being on Broadway, and then I think they go to London. And so it's been running there for quite a while. People wearing Marty McFly jackets. We got very good seats, and it was definitely a musical. Um, Dude, I was like smiling the entire time. And I think at one point I teared up at the beginning because when you have a live orchestra that's, doing like how does the tune go?
That little like jingle, that ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. What's the theme song though? It's like, dun, 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 dun,
Dun,
dun,
dun.
dun, dun,
Uh-huh.
dun, dun, dun.
That's probably how they open the whole damn thing.
When the DeLorean flies onto the stage, it was like, oh my God. It was like, that is a DeLorean on stage, and they have the flux capacitor in there. And Doc does not get shot by terrorists for reasons we don't need to go into. He suffers from radiation from the plutonium.
Ooh. How do you
And
change that over history?
dude, the guy who played Doc Brown is you would recognize him. He's been in a bunch of stuff. I think his name is something Barry Gary, something like that. But anyway, he was incredibly good. Different take than Christopher Lloyd, but still very
Mhm.
Doc Browny. His stage presence was incredible. His voice was incredible. His comedic chops were top notch. The guy who played Marty McFly did that kind of like scrappy voice, but then like had this like kind of incredible voice as well. The songs were incredibly catchy. The guy who played Biff looked exactly like Biff. The guy who played Marty McFly's dad looked exactly like Crispin Glover and a little bit, I thought, like Bill Hader, a
Ooh.
ton like Bill Hader. And he was amazing. And they did all the like every great moment. They had, a crazy drunk driver. And I was like, we go to intermission and Sarah and Claudio are like, "How are you liking it?" And I'm like, "This is the greatest thing. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen." And they were like, "Right? We knew you had to see it." And Claudio's Italian, and that's not an Italian accent. But the scene where the lightning like hits
The
the clock
clock
tower,
tower. Okay.
um, really the scene where he first travels back in time and hits 88 miles an hour. You're like, this. How can they make this look cool? They make it look very
That
cool,
was
and
going to be my first question.
yeah,
Ooh, okay,
it's
okay.
technologically like stuff that I did not understand what was happening, but the dun, 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 and then he flies into the future. The lighting of the whole art auditorium was like this sort of electrical wiring kind of deal, looking like a
Whoa.
flux capacitor, and they made it look all insane. And then uh when the lightning tower gets hit or whatever, they had two strips of flames that lit up across the stage, and Doc Brown comes out there, and it's like I was blown away. I mean, it was truly
Oh.
10 out of 10. And then at the very end, I'm like, well, that was great. This is wonderful. Everyone's doing the last song, and they do, Johnny Be Good and the Marty McFly character. You can tell can perfectly play the guitar. Yeah, and he does the whole doing it until everyone kind of stops and stares at him, and he says, your kids are gonna love it, and everyone goes, yeah. And then at the very, very end, guess who shows up? Doc Brown.
From the future.
DeLorean flies on stage. Marty
Marty.
pops out in the yellow lab coat and like the silver whatever, the silver sunglasses, and like, we gotta go back to the future. And he puts it in there and goes, well, we don't have enough road. And he's going, well, we're going. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, babe, I like they're gonna do it. And he goes, where we're going, we don't need roads. And then everyone gathers around, and you can kind of see some of the supporting casts put like seatbelts on the Marty McFly and Doc Brown, and then the DeLorean turns, and I was like, huh, and it lifts up,
Oh.
uh, and then the wheels turn, and it turns, and it starts going out into the audience, and then takes off again, and then that's the end. And we were like, it just made a DeLorean fly. They made a DeLorean fly. That was the coolest thing I've ever seen. It was amazing.
Dang.
And we
Okay.
ate corn dogs.
When that eventually comes to the Pantages Theater, I will go.
Dude, you have to see it. And anyone who ever gets a chance to see it, it lives up to what it is.
So I haven't even checked yet, but if I go to Spotify and listen to the cast recording of the show, I will love the songs. The songs are that catchy.
I think the songs are super catchy. One is called Doc Brown, when his first song is just called It Works. And it's the chorus is, it works, it works, it works. And then like all these dancers come out, and Marty McFly's like, where'd all these people come from? He goes, I don't know. They just come up anytime I start singing. It works.
That's
And
really
it's a
good.
very, you would
Okay.
have loved it. He actually reminded me of you quite a bit. His like, physicality and the vocal intonations, like on a technical level, they were excellent. So.
I'm excited. All right.
Guy who played the mayor, the dude who played, Mayor,
Oh yeah.
yeah, sweeping he
Yep.
has an
Goody. What's
incredible song.
forget his name? Yeah.
Goldie something.
Goldie. There we go. Yeah.
And yeah, it was wonderful. So,
Damn.
anywho,
What was your? So you left it going 10 out of 10. Walking in, we were a little skeptical. We were like, this is going to be like a 7. Maybe.
yeah, I thought it would be like, oh, they're really leaning into the nostalgia, and it didn't really, or they're like almost. I just hadn't heard anything about it. I certainly didn't expect it to be like so high quality.
One of the best things you've ever seen.
Yeah. and a reminder of like how incredibly good that movie is,
Hmm.
and how insanely weird it is. Like the John Mulaney bit of being like, he's a kid and his best friend is a disgraced nuclear physicist. How are they friends? We don't know.
It is funny because like there's a world where even when we were young and even now, Michael Fox never seemed like a teenager to me. Like that's the one thing about that movie is that he
Yeah.
never ever seemed like a teenager. No matter what age I was when I watched it, he always felt like a 30-year-old man to me.
Yep.
Uh,
And he stayed that way.
and it hasn't retroactively changed. You know, when like you're young, you watch a movie and you're like, those guys are so old, and then you get into your 30s and you're like, oh, that guy that I thought was old is 12.
Yep.
It's like 17. Michael J. Fox, perpetually 30.
I'm the same. I'm that way with football, like college football players, or professional football players, where I still watch them going, one day I'll be as
Yep.
old as they are. And
Yep.
then I'm like, this is like a 23-year-old.
Yeah, I do that all the time. And you do that because I think the media, for sure, the way they're just like blasted into your face, and because people are in media, you think, oh,
Yep.
I think there's a natural part of your brain that thinks they're a little bit like superior is the wrong word, but on the hierarchy of just
Right.
existence, it makes them feel older. Like, it feels like LeBron James is 55. LeBron James is younger than me. And that
Yeah, I
fucks with me
know. That
crazy.
is a tough one. That is, yeah. When you're like the people you look up to, or like the movie stars or something, like, oh yeah, the what movie we were watching? Oh, Squid Game. Have you watched the new Squid Game?
I heard it was not great, so I've stayed away from it.
Good. Thank God you've heard that, man, because we keep meaning to look up the reviews and we're making our way through it, but holy crap, it's like I don't like it at all. It's
You're not on
good
board.
enough to keep watching, but
Yeah. Would you?
it's
Yeah.
it's like they didn't need a sequel and they wanted to make it, and I think even the guy said as much.
That I do. I've seen some clips, and I've walked in when my daughter or my wife were watching it, and that main character definitely put on some years. He just looks
Right.
way older.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a makeup thing or not, but I'm like, okay, success. Has a
The
graphic.
other show, Joe, that I was curious if you've seen is Creature Commandos.
Dude, I love it so much.
Okay, me too. Okay, great.
It's so fucking good.
Great. I love it. I don't do animated, and I started turning it on yesterday, and Grace was like, "What are you watching?" And I was like, "It's good." And I was like, you're not gonna like it, and leave me alone. I'm gonna watch it."
I love this so much. It's great.
Yeah, and big fan. So
Are you all the like?
I think so.
Yeah, James Gunn he has a certain skill, and James Gunn's skill is I can take a group of misfits and make them fun. Um, it's a little like it's almost a little Mad Libs for what he does, but what
Yeah,
he's so good at it that I don't care.
yeah. It is just fun. I was like, oh, that's his thing. Like, and I think that's what he's doing with DC is being like, we're gonna make this just fun again, and like I do get a little like, do we need another montage? Because it's so many montages, and
Because
it
he's
is
great
like
with music. His needle drops are
he loves his music. Yeah,
so,
and
but
he
that leads
chooses
me
great
interesting
songs.
with Superman, right? Like, I'm not. I thought the trailer for the new Superman was interesting, but James Gunn's really good at taking a group of misfits and letting them play off one another, from like Peacemaker to Suicide Squad to
Yeah.
Creature Commandos to Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like I said, it's all kind of the same thing.
Yep.
Misfit is
Yeah.
different. He can't play off of anybody. It's
Right.
one misfit, and it's a misfit that I mean, I think we've already touched on it on the podcast before, so I apologize, but it's a misfit that is I just don't think works in today's America because when he first came out, there was a little bit of more of a cohesion of national identity. Now it's like we're split right down the middle. And depending on what way you go with Superman and what he stands for, one half of the audience is going to be 100% on his side, and the other half is going to be 100% like fuck this shit. And it could be
Mhm.
fuck this woke shit, or it could be fuck this MAGA shit or nationalism shit. And I think there's the dichotomy of America right now. It'll be tough for them to accept whatever version of Superman we get, no matter what it is.
Yeah, I hope James Gunn doesn't make it, yeah, too. I don't know. Like it's Superman. I don't find Superman to be that interesting anyway. I always have found him very saccharine, but whatever. I mean, I know people love him. I'm not trying to.
I mean, there was the more saccharine time for him where it made sense,
Yeah,
and I just don't know if it makes sense as much. But maybe he'll do something different with it.
yeah. And I think maybe with like what is it? Green. What's his name? He's played by Nathan Fillion in the
Green
Superman
Lantern?
Green Lantern. He's playing Green Lantern in it. You see him for a second. He's got a bad haircut.
I didn't
Uh,
know. No, that's cool. I
it's
mean,
like a
whatever he's in.
blonde, really helmet haircut thing, and it's Nathan Fillion for like 2 seconds doing something. I think maybe he'll have misfits within the thing that's more than because I don't identify with Superman as being a misfit. He seems like a total more
Well,
like a
he's a
messiah
god,
figure. Yeah,
but he's a misfit on Earth because
yeah,
fish out of water, but he's like a really big fish and he's a strong fish.
yeah. They really big these fly.
And this fish can fly and breathes not water and will kill
Yeah,
you,
yeah. So
but doesn't
that's a
like green
misfit.
stuff.
Doesn't quite fit in.
The dog was an interesting reveal right away in the trailer.
Crypto, yeah, that
Yeah.
was cute.
But we'll see. We'll see. Dog
We'll
lovers are
see.
in. They're in.
I like real dogs. I'm not a big fan of when they make a computer animated dog in a real movie, but I don't know. What do I know?
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing, dude. I know nothing.
We
I
know.
thought I we were thinking a raccoon had fallen from the heavens and broken my wife's car before we thought BB gun.
You did say, despite having other cars in that parking spot, that maybe it was unlevel. And
Yeah,
shattered your windows.
yeah, that the torque. And we Googled and it said Subarus sometimes have cracked windows, and we were like, okay, maybe it just Grace got a car where the windows spontaneously explode. Like we did not have a clue. Lo and behold,
You're gonna get you're gonna get like in 3, 4 weeks, you're gonna get one of those recall letters in the mail that says immediately take your new Subaru in to get the windows replaced because they spontaneously combust. And it will turn out that that kid didn't hit some of the BBs just
mm,
rolled up onto your driveway, but he did not shoot the
exactly.
windows out.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and that would be fine too. I mean, as long as they're gonna take care of it, Subaru, whoever. I was like,
How disappointing. The fun of having a new car now it just sits there and you can't drive it. That sucks.
Grace and I were talking about this. There's certain things we just don't really care about too much. Thankfully, that's one of them. I'm glad that it's both of us because of like, I probably care more than Grace does because she just doesn't care about cars at all. The only thing was getting around and
Just
being
getting
like,
around.
I
That's what
will.
I mean. Like, just like, oh, I
Yeah,
can't drive this thing, and now I'm inconvenienced for a while. But if you have a rental, man, that's going to be an expensive lesson for that family. That
it
sucks.
is. It's going to be very. It does suck. It sucks. But I mean, because he even in the text, I was like, "Here's the estimates for the parts, for the windows, for the repair," and he was like, um, of his own accord, he was like, "There are also marks on the body." He was like, "We're gonna take care of like whatever that is too. We'll take care of." And we were gonna just leave the marks and be like, whatever. It's like little tiny BB dents.
Right.
But he was nice enough to hang on my brother. Let me talk to my brother for a second.
Yeah, yeah, dude.
Hey, David, you're on the Valley Cast right now.
Am I really? All right, awesome.
Yeah, I'm here with Joe Beretta. Joe, say hi.
Hi, hi, David.
Hey,
Uh,
Joe, how's it going?
it's good, man. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, you too. So, I guess I'm interrupting something. Should I let you guys get back to it?
Yeah, I'm
And,
telling Joe the fun story. I'm going to tell you in a little bit.
Cool. All right.
Okay.
Looking forward to it.
Cool. Talk to you later.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Asshole.
Yeah, what a chill asshole. What if his car was shot out?
Same thing. I was like, I might be the second nicest person in this scenario. My brother would be like, we were going to get rid of it.
I 100%, yeah, 100% probably would have done the exact same thing that you did.
What are
Maybe
you going to do?
maybe a little bit more anxiety about the financial cost, but if that guy was just like, I'll cover it, man, you guys lucked out too. Like they didn't
Yeah.
just luck out. You guys could have come upon one of those parents that was just like,
Right.
my kid didn't do it. Prove it.
Exactly. When they didn't answer the door, I was like, oh, is this going to be like an asshole? And then when he was like, okay, he's not being an asshole, then it was fine because it took everyone involved
Mm-hmm.
agreeing tacitly.
Yep.
that this was not our fault and that this is a problem that needed to be taken care of. And it's hard, I think, for them to look at what they saw and not be like, yeah, this is on us. Anyway, but yeah, besides that, the raccoons are still attacking us, and coyotes are everywhere. So
Well, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
yeah, the two holiday animals. What else you want to talk about, Joe? Anything?
I don't know. I feel like those are two pretty solid stories. Yeah, talked about some Saturday night. I think we wrapped this up.
When did you watch Saturday night?
A week ago,
Okay.
week or so, week and a half ago. Yeah.
I watched some plane movies, and I watched a movie I've never seen called The Departed,
You've never seen The Departed.
not in its entirety.
I'm very interested now. Are
Mhm.
you? It was for a while there. It was one of my favorite movies ever.
Uh, Unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
It's so good. Oh, oh. So did you know the twist?
Well, I think I wait. What is the twist? I guess we can talk about this movie that's
It's been
decades
long enough.
old.
The elevator scene, like towards
I
the end.
think so it happened, and I'm sitting in the middle seat, and the dude next to me at one point was like, "It's the greatest, one of the greatest movies ever, man." And I was like, "I know I've never seen." He's like, "Really?" And I was like, "I don't think maybe as a kid, I don't think I've seen it." And I'm sitting there next to him, and I can tell he's kind of watching silently the whole time because he's got his seat back, and the elevator scene happens, and I like jerked up a little bit, and I'm like, "Oh." Yeah, I think I did remember, like vaguely remember that, but it definitely got me.
Yep. Marky Mark got a Best Supporting Actor nomination for that movie.
He did great, but yeah, I mean, he was in it so little that I kind of was hoping and I knew the last scene. I knew
Yeah.
that scene I'd seen with him and that was pretty great. The insults that they throw at each other are wonderful, and I started using them in private. But you can't say them anymore. But they're very, very good. Like that Boston vulgarity is
Yep.
one of the best types of insults you can get.
Wonderful, wonderful flick. So good. I think that was his first Best Picture winner, right? No, no, it is not Best Picture winner, but he got nominated for something. Hold on a second. Because he won
And
for
then
Hugo for Best Director, but no, he won for Best Director for this, I think.
he should have
Uh, I feel
also watched Carry On. Did you watch that?
which one's that?
It's a new Netflix one with Jason Bateman and Taron Egerton or
Oh
whatever.
yeah, he's the bad guy, Jason Bateman. Was he good, a
Yeah.
bad guy?
That's a fun movie. No, he's just Jason Bateman. So if you imagine his voice in a saying bad things, he's good. But it's a fun movie. It's I'd say
Yeah.
6.5 out of 10.
Oh, I was right. He won Best Director for The Departed. Yep, 2007. So good. So good. So good. So
What are you doing tomorrow? Are you getting back into the swing of things?
No, I'm with a little bit of vagueness. Vagueness. I'm in between jobs. I start a new job later this month. And
Have you talked about it publicly?
I'm gonna pull a Sarah Whittle for a little bit, and I'm going to say I'm switching jobs, and I'm just gonna like go do it without making
Yep.
it a big thing, and see
See
how
what you
that
got.
goes.
Good.
And then
Well,
when
don't forget we
it
said
naturally
anything.
comes out, it naturally comes out.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear more about it. I'm curious about it.
I'm curious about it too. I don't know what I'm getting into.
Yeah.
But it was time for a switch. And very, it's weird. I'm a purgatory of emotions right now because I really, really am proud of the environment and the work life that we created in my time at React. Like we have a group of people that truly care about each other and ride headstrong into the wind with empathy first. And I've been really proud of that and really proud of the mentorship that I've got to kind of do there while also still being a YouTuber and having to do YouTuber things. So I'm sad. I'm sad that I'm leaving that really fine group of young creatives. But we'll be keeping in touch, and if they'll still have me, I'll be more of a reactor moving forward. I'll go in and I'll just do some videos for them.
I don't think they're gonna have you back, man.
Probably not.
You've burned this bridge.
Yeah,
If there's one thing I know about you, Joe, you are a bridge burner.
I am.
And
I am.
you
So
leave like Doc Brown a trail of fire in your wake. A real trail of fire on stage that you can feel the heat from the flames of.
That's insane. I love it so much. That's good.
Incredible. There was a really dumb part where there's a locker hallway, high school locker number where Biff is trying to fight Marty, and at one point Marty gets handed a lightsaber, and they start for 1 second playing the Star Wars theme, and everything stops, and Marty just kind of looks like, I have a lightsaber, and then they go back to fighting. And I was like, is that like a why did they do that?
Was it a music joke? What? I don't
There's
know.
also a Star Trek scene where Doc Brown is traveling through time, and you see like the hoverboard, and then you see the Doctor Who telephone booth, and he's like on the bridge being like a Captain Kirk type character. There's some odd choices, but that one actually kind of worked. The lightsaber did not work.
I don't understand the lightsaber thing. I can't in any world imagine the context of it because it doesn't even work in the time period.
The audience didn't get it, and he kind of even, you can tell on stage doing like like, I've been told to do this.
Weird.
Weird. And on that note, Happy New Year, everyone, and thank you for having me. And thank you to Joe, and thank you to Steve for holding everything down.
Yep. Bye.